It's a very angry book, so if you're going to read it, you got to read it all in short order, because you don't want to stretch out rage.
Fast, quick, and furious.
How do we explain transmet?
To me, it's always been Hunter S. Thompson.
200 years in the future?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Filtered through a lot more high-tech drugs, technology, the end of society.
You need to know a backstory before you can read transmet. The backstory is... Oh, sorry. This is Spider Jerusalem. He's essentially Hunter S. Thompson, 200 years in the future. The backstory is, 5 years ago, he wrote a book about the new president, which he called the new president The Beast. The book made him so popular he couldn't stand being in the city. So for 5 years, he's been holed up in his mountain cabin. And we'll show you, this panel here should tell you about everything you need to know. He's holding up a dead mouse with a note on it that says, "Buy more bullets."
Gone totally native.
Yeah.
Mountain man.
Doing every manner of drug under the sun. When he gets a call from his publisher who threatens to sue him into the poorhouse if he doesn't come the hell down off the mountain and write the other 2 books he got the advance on 5 years ago.
So he's forced back to the city to write about politics again.
And resume his feud with the president.
Which is something he'd rather die than actually do.
It's an interesting future. Again, they don't say how far, but there are, for instance, people getting alien implants. There's people getting their consciousness transferred into
gas.
Foglets, that's what they call them.
Yeah.
And Spider has a 3-eyed cat that smokes cigarettes.
Every manner of technology gone completely wrong.
It's a fascinating blend of science fiction, politics, and just great comics.
Everything's set in the future, but it still is contemporary. It follows things that happened then, now, always happen with politics. Corruption, greed.
Sorry, I started looking at the book. Spider is not a pleasant fellow. He's probably not somebody you'd invite home. But he's still my hero, because he takes on a seated president. Very much a parody of Hunter S. Thompson, including Spider accosting the president in a public washroom with his favorite weapon,
The bowel disruptor.
the bowel disruptor. He swears that wasn't him that New Year's Eve in Times Square, but we don't necessarily believe him. But again, Transmet, very angry book. If you have any angry young man left in you, and I do, well, maybe it's an angry old man now, I don't know. Read Transmet, but don't take too long, because it's rage, and rage should not be spread out. On the other hand, Ellis's other masterpiece, Planetary, can be read as slowly as you like.
You can take as much time as you like as he
certainly did when he was
traverses the
writing it.
history of comic books.
It's true. Sorry, I'm back on Transmet. Planetary is a group whose stated goal is they're mapping the secret history of the 20th century. So each episode, they're investigating an unusual phenomenon, which, if you read between the lines, is somewhat familiar from pop culture from the last 100 years or so.
Anything from the beginning of pulp heroes with Doc Savage to the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk.
Actually, further back. Remember, they tie in the Lone Ranger with one of the, as an ancestor of one of the villains.
These guys are looking at the backstory of a world populated by these heroes that are fictional to us.
Superheroes, science fiction, every conspiracy theory you've ever heard. They're all tied in together. Flashbacks of the lead character, Snow, meeting Sherlock Holmes, touring Frankenstein's castle, on as an aside. Amazing art from John Cassidy. I'm not sure if you can tell on a cell phone, but just as a setup, the first episode has satellite imaging discovers there's a hidden installation inside a mountain, and they go to investigate, and sure enough, it's somebody's abandoned base of operations. There's broken trophy cases with strange creatures in it. In the middle of it, they find this man here, who identifies himself as Doc Brass. He's been guarding a portal to another dimension for 50 years. When he talks about the people he fought weirdness with in the first half of the 20th century, they're clearly the Shadow, Tarzan, Fu Manchu, Charles Edison, Thomas Lindbergh, and I still haven't figured out who Jimmy the Secret Agent is. Have you?
It's a mystery to me.
I can't place that. They visit Monster Island, Area 51, Frankenstein's Castle. Great book for anybody who's knowledgeable and interested in pop culture, comics, superheroes, sci-fi, anything for the last 100 years. The more you know about that, the more you'll get out of Planetary. And this is the polar opposite in a lot of ways from Transmetropolitan, because this is one of the more subtle uses of superheroes.
Yeah.
Whereas
very little action to do with it, more with the idea behind it.
Yeah, the ideas.
The
exactly.
backstories, the effect that they would have on a world. But yeah, it's polar opposite to Planetary. Is very kinetic, very fast-paced, frenetic, and Planetary is much more subtle, introspective. They investigate, they, discover things that you yourself as a reader have to look at to figure out exactly what they're getting at.
It's not a complicated book to read, and you can read these slowly. As a matter of fact, it took, 8 years for the series to come out? It was only 27 issues. There was 2 years in the middle without an issue.
Yeah.
And nobody stopped reading it, because it's a really good book.
Completely worth the wait.
4 graphic novels, get in, get out, and you'll be happy you did. This is a book you can reread every year.